There it goes. All right, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, we have called to order the April 8th, 2025 Planning Board. Our first item will be the invocation, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you are able to stand and willing, please stand. And I'll ask Mr. Boykin to lead us in the invocation.
Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together today and keeping us all safe. Lord, please give us your guidance to make the best decisions for this county and pave the road to keep all of our families healthy and safe. We want to thank you for everything that you do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, you may be seated. Thank you very much for that. The next item, item 4 on the agenda, is the agenda approval. Let me just make sure I've got this here. Any corrections or anything additional? Nothing that I've seen. Is there anything?
No changes to the agenda.
All right. Hearing that, unless there's any question, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as proposed.
Motion to approve as proposed.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? All right, the agenda is passed. All right, the next item is item 5, the minutes. This consideration of our minutes from our March 11th, 2025 meeting. Hopefully you've had a chance to review. Is there any corrections, updates, questions related to it? Otherwise, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Passes unanimously. Okay, on to the public comments section. Comments, please keep them pertaining to the agenda item only. Should you wish to make comments, clearly state your name into the microphone before commencing to speak. There's also a signature tab up there. If you would, please also put your name there. There are agendas up at the podium up there if anybody needs those before. We will be utilizing 15 minutes for the applicant to speak. And then anyone else in favor of the project, then there'll be 15 minutes for any opposition to speak. That's a 15 minutes combined for both sets. So I would ask if you've got comments, make sure you're, especially on the opposition side, if there's opposition, make sure you try to organize those and not be repetitive. If there's a need to extend the time period, we will. Also during the public hearing, there'll be a section that's the public hearing. That's the time for us to hear from the public. Once we close the public hearing, that public input is closed. Then we'll discuss amongst the board. We may have some follow-up questions, but it's not the time or opportunity to raise your hand and want to come back up to the podium. So just wanted to be clear about that. And let's see, the only other item related to that is just again try to keep your comments pertinent to the project, and we rely on facts and not opinions based off of our recommendation. We are also only a recommending body to the Board of Commissioners for zoning items, so they'll each go to whether it's recommended approval or recommended denial, they'll each go to the Board of Commissioners the following month, where that'll be the first meeting in May. Do we know the date on that one? May 6th?
Yes.
May 6th. So just maybe jot that down if you're in particularly curious about anything. All right, see if I read through there a little bit. I see you circled that for me, so I circled the date there. I appreciate that. So we'll move on to new business. All items presented during this portion of the meeting will be presented at the future Board of Commissioners meeting, and that public hearing will be the 6th of May, 2025. Our first item is public hearing number 1. It's Manning Graham request to rezone 33.5 acres from AR1 to LI to allow for industrial uses located on Old Augusta Road. This is the 5th District, map number 476, parcel 4E. Chelsea.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And let me first apologize, as you can clearly tell that I am losing my voice, so I will try to make this short and sweet for you. Again, the applicant is requesting to rezone. On your staff report, it does say from AR1 to light industrial. I do want to clarify that this is to I1 with light industrial uses. I know that the ad and the sign do say that. When we advertise for the Board of Commissioners, we will also make that correction as well for clarity purposes. Again, this application was received on August 20th, 2024 at 12:37, so before the commencement of the moratorium on August 20th at that Board of Commissioners meeting. The applicant requests to rezone 33.5 acres. As you can see on your screen, that is the future land use map. Where that yellow star is, that is.
Can we move this to the end?
Well, we've just set the agenda. I don't know the process on that, so let's at least let staff get through that portion. I want to not stop for the middle, and we can reconvene. But yeah, that's we already set the agenda.
Yes, sir. So the applicant is requesting to rezone 33.5 acres to industrial. And again, as you see on that future land use map, it does project this parcel to be industrial. Based on the Effingham County Comprehensive Plan, light industrial uses includes but is not limited to warehousing and distribution, trucking and small-scale assembly and manufacturing. Development in this category requires supportive infrastructure and access to major transportation thoroughfares. I do want to point out, according to the National Wetlands Inventory provided by U.S. Fish and Wildlife, this parcel does have significant wetlands coverage. And I do want to pull that map up for you. So hold on one second for me. And I apologize. There is that U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and it is, again, this parcel right here. So staff has reviewed this application, and this application is complete.
Okay, thank you, Chelsea. I'm assuming I know the answer to this question, but is the applicant in the audience? Okay, if you would step forward and you can make the request there. We'd at least have to hear on the record there to understand what your actual request is. Please state your name and sign your name.
Manny Graham.
Manny Graham, okay.
So you want me to sign this?
Yes, please.
Can we move this to the end of the agenda?
All right, so this is the first I've been asked to do this. I want to ask staff, is that even possible from a process standpoint now that we've set the agenda?
Is there a reason why?
We're waiting on Chad to get here.
Chad,
I mean, this item's been,
I would say as soon as Chad shows up, you probably need to go back to it if you want to hold off on it until
okay,
maybe not the end, but whenever Chad shows up.
all right, so,
Is that okay?
yeah, technically, I can call it the public hearing, I guess. We'll hold it until Chad gets here. We'll reconvene and open the public hearing for this item at that time. If he's not here by the time we get through the rest of the agenda, we're moving on. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, everybody clear and good with that? Try to be fair and equitable related to that.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we will move into public hearing number 2. This is Susan Nicole Ron, request to rezone 6.13 acres from AR1 to AR2 to allow for the permitted uses in AR2. The property is located on 240 Bethany Road. This is the 4th District, map 442, parcel 15. Ms. Chelsea.
Yes, sir. All right, reset. The applicant is requesting to rezone 6.13 acres to AR2. Again, per the Effingham County Code of Ordinances, conforming AR1 zoning shall have 5 acres or more. And since the applicant would like to subdivide the parcel, the zoning will need to change to AR2. On your staff report, you do have the list of permitted uses by right in AR2 zoning. Bethany Road is a county-maintained road, and the future land use map does project this parcel as agricultural residential. Staff has reviewed the application, and the application is complete with the following conditions: that should a plat need to be signed, the plat should then be signed by Development Services and recorded so the zoning can take effect.
All right, thank you, Ms. Chelsea. Is the applicant here to speak on behalf of the project? Thank you, sir. Please state your name and sign your name if you would.
Jason Ron. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. I guess you see what I'm seeing. We just want to subdivide 6 acres to give a portion of it to our daughter. A portion with the house on it, she'll keep the agricultural part. There's a small field and a barn on it. Me and my wife will keep that.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant related to the item?
Daughter's wanting to live there?
Yeah. She just don't need the whole piece.
Any other questions for her? All right, we'll see if we have anything else to address, but appreciate it right now.
Thanks, Bob.
Is there anyone else wanting to speak in favor of this application? Okay. Anyone wanting to speak against the application? All right, seeing that there's none, we will close this item's public hearing and open it up for discussion amongst the board or motion.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the request to zone, splitting up the acreage as requested by Jason Ron for Susan Nicole Ron.
Okay, we have a motion. Second.
I'll make a second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any nays? All right, thank you, sir. Moving on, make sure you remember May 6th.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the engineer has arrived.
All right, good deal. All right, well, we'll now jump backwards then, jump back to agenda item number 1, or public hearing number 1. I'm gonna read it in again, just to be formal about it, I think. So, public hearing number 1, Manning Graham requests to rezone 33.5 acres from AR1 to LI1 to allow for industrial uses located on Old Augusta Road, 5th District, map 476, parcel 4E. I do not expect you to go back through. Chad, you're welcome to come forward, and we will start, if we can, start the clock. We're gonna have 15 minutes for the applicant, and we'll open it up for 15 minutes for anybody else.
All right, good afternoon. Chad Zittrower with Kern & Company here representing the applicant on this petition. Kind of read through the staff report, don't really have any objections to anything in there. This particular property, this is a petition for rezoning, and this particular property is kind of limited to the uses you can see here. Across the street, across Old Augusta, is industrial warehouse space. Old Augusta is obviously a industrial corridor truck route. To the north is residential development. To the west is a spray field, which I kind of consider an industrial use to some extent. You wouldn't really have a lot of residential development there. And then kind of to the southwest is more industrial. So when you look at the fit and kind of what fits in here, in our opinion, the industrial use is probably the best fit. Now, with that being said, you look at the configuration of the parcel, the parcel of land, and it is very limited as to what can go there. So one of the conditions in the recommendation is obviously you're gonna have to come back with a site plan to kind of show. Now, we've got some ideas and concepts of kind of what could fit in there. Do have a purchaser that is, you know, interested in acquiring this property for a specific use. It is going to require some buffers and all along Old Augusta for screening, and some things of that nature. But as far as the zoning application goes, we feel like this is the quote-unquote right zoning. We acknowledge there'll be some limits to the configurations. We're waiting on some of the wetlands verification to come back. The initial analysis said it was more wetlands on the property than there were 10, 12 years ago. However, a lot of that is caused by saturation from the spray field to the west of us, where they're putting more water on our property. So the Corps is basically looking at it to verify the wetlands should be what was initially there and what they were when the landowner actually purchased the property. So we're going through trying to check a lot of boxes. One of them is rezoning. As far as the rezoning alone goes, we feel like that is the best fit for the property. So with that being said, be glad to answer any questions you may have.
I have a few, but does any of the board members have any questions?
I do. How much of the acreage is wetlands?
Initially, it was, I believe, 23 of the 33. Yeah. So, and it's, you know, it went up to about, well, I think initially it was about 20. It went up to about 25, and it should fall within that 20 range is what we're expecting.
Okay.
And primarily that's to the south. Now, we acknowledge that the buffer to the north is going to have to be fairly significant. We intend to incorporate that in our site plan development, because that's where actual residences live, and we don't intend to make any modification from that with what the buffer ordinances are.
No, that, actually, you hit my question, because I thought I saw on the map, that the NWI map, that the wetlands looked to be majority to the south, which unfortunately would be nice if they were to the north to help buffer those adjacent residences.
Yes.
So whatever the direction, but if it moves forward in a positive recommendation, I mean, I'm glad to hear that you said that you weren't considering future mediation or variances or whatever to the buffer that's to the residences there.
Correct.
And that the fact that there's that much wetlands wouldn't be a future justification for a variance to reduce that buffer.
I have a question. So the project's gonna be on the 10, you said it was 25, so 7 acres of good land?
Well,
And there's
yeah,
no
we're hoping
plans-
it's 10, and some of that'll be eaten up by buffers. So,
Right.
yeah, we're looking at.
Plans to
8%.
mitigate or?
Not substantially. Now, could there be a nationwide permit for like less than half an acre? Possibly, but no, we do not intend to come in and try to mitigate 10 acres for impacts. No.
And 476-1, that's where the spray field is. Can you see it on the
Correct.
screen?
Yes.
And Chelsea, remind me, this is on our future land use map is,
It is showing as industrial. Yes, sir. Where that big yellow star is.
yeah.
And you said y'all have a potential purchaser. So what, can you disclose like what the use would be, so we can talk about like potential noise? Because it does butt up to that residential neighborhood right there, and that's my biggest concern.
It will be an industrial type use. There will be some traffic. In our opinion, it's not going to be any more substantial than the truck traffic going up and down Old Augusta right now. That particular development to the north does not have a buffer per se between Old Augusta where all that truck traffic is. And so it will be a yard type operation in the event that this user moves forward. It'll be a yard type operation. We acknowledge there's stormwater, environmental concerns, all of that stuff we'll have to meet, but the noise will not exceed the levels on Old Augusta.
But not a production type of operation.
Correct.
And Lindsay, I know that this doesn't come before this board, but they will have to submit that site plan for approval to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
Which usually narrows down what it is.
So, Chad, when Chelsea went through the initial discussion related to the item, she relayed the fact that it was going to be corrected, and the notice for the commissioners meeting will actually be to I-1, which is the current industrial zoning district we have in place. There's more than light industrial uses allowed in our current I-1 zoning classification, because that is our only zoning classification right now. Would you be willing to add a condition that it is limited to the uses that are the light industrial uses of our current zoning?
Can you read those? I don't have those in front of me, I apologize.
Yes, one moment. And I apologize.
Well,
Sorry.
if you've got it.
I do. Pulling it up right now.
Can I ask you a question while we're waiting on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is just a question, since I'm kind of new to the board. So if we're looking at making a decision to approve, deny without a site plan, we really don't know what we're approving or denying on. Is that a correct thought?
Well, I mean, we are only considering the zoning and the uses,
Zoning.
right? Like this, it's not a site plan conditional zoning, right? So we're not, we always have to keep that in mind. Whatever's shown to us, if the next application has a layout and a use, unless we put a condition that that is your layout and that is your use, they've got the right to any use that's in the zoning district
Correct,
we approve to.
correct.
So the fact that there is and is not a site plan doesn't necessarily give me concern of considering the land use, just look at it as whether or not we think a light industrial is an appropriate land use for that area.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
Here are your current permitted uses in light industrial. And if you want me to read them out loud, I can, but, and then just let me know if I'm going too fast. And then as we move further down, here are your heavy industrial permitted uses.
Yeah, we've got no exception to the, light industrial uses. And we're good with that limitation.
All right, so hearing that, again, I'm not saying we know what direction, but let's make sure we add that since it's a little bit different, because the initial posting was light industrial, but that district doesn't exist quite yet, so we're having to change the process a bit. So, any other questions?
Hey, Ron, just include that in the motion.
That's why I'm trying to make sure that that is get included, if that's the direction of the motion goes, so. Any other questions for the applicant? Otherwise, we'll move on to, all right, thank you, Chad.
All right, welcome.
Anyone else in the audience to speak in favor of the project?
I was looking really quickly.
If you'd like to, I have to get you to come up for the record. You're more than welcome to come up, but just come up to ask the question.
I was looking really quickly and it was, I'm so sorry. I'm Debbie Halp. I'm Manning Graham's realtor.
Okay.
And it was going really quickly. I just wanted to verify that if they decided at some point a buyer to add a warehouse, that was on the light industrial? Okay, I just wanted to.
No, warehouse currently in that plan is
No,
considered a heavy
that is
industrial
heavy
use.
industrial. It is a heavy
Okay.
industrial use.
As a commercial realtor, I do think that could be harmful, but I was just wanting to point that out. Because most of the things along that road do have a warehouse.
Yeah. And the county is working on 2 new districts that'll clarify that right now, but what we've got to work with is the current code.
Right,
And that's what was submitted on in August.
Okay,
And currently, the code we have considers warehouse and light industrial as a heavy industrial use.
okay.
It's, that's probably something to clarify with the Board of Commissioners, like if that's critical, to
Okay.
maybe have them
Okay,
consider
so
that.
it could be a
'cause-
variance or something.
Well, it could be something that they add as one more allowed use that, you know, light industrial plus warehousing, you could ask for it that way. But,
Okay, thank you. So it's not the end of the, Okay.
This board's not the end of any of it,
Okay,
right?
that's
So,
all
yeah,
I
you've got the
needed to
opportunity
clarify.
to rethink it a bit, so.
okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll open it up to anyone in the audience that's here to speak against or in opposition to the project. Yes, please come forward and state your name and sign your name if you would, please.
Hello, my name is Amala Matthews. I ask
get
that
that?
y'all bear with me. It's my
It's
first
Ms.
time.
Matthews. What was your first name?
Amala.
Amala Matthews.
This is my first time here, so I ask that y'all bear with me.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Thank you. So I would like to oppose turning this parcel of land into light industrial use. I would like to state that it was first zoned as agricultural use. I actually live in Effingham. I live down this road. My family has lived here for multiple generations. So when you first come onto this road, first of all, the traffic is already unbearable because we have already a warehouse, we have new development homes, and you have these warehouses squeezed in between homes. This is an agricultural area. Adding more warehouses would just be a detriment to the traffic. It takes me 30 minutes to get off of this one-way street onto the highway. This is the back roads. It's not made for industrial use. You have heavy-duty trucks coming in, which causes lots of disruptions. It's tearing down our roads, as well as the fact that the trees are being cut down, which means that the wildlife are running amok. There are more accidents happening, and down this road, there's already accidents just from human error because of the way the road winds and turns, and it's dark. Let's see. Also, cutting down the trees, it's not only affecting our wildlife, which I said, it's affecting our water. When they build these places, many of the residents rely on well water, which is already being threatened because there are other warehouses being built in this area. We already have parcels of land set aside for industrial use. I ask that if we have to go the industrial route, we don't disrupt the residents that are there. Their light industrial on paper is heavy industrial for us. People already live here. It's being a disruption, It's a big disruption to our everyday lives. It's disrupting me on my way to work. I have to plan an hour out of my day every day to get to work. It should not take that long. That's a 10-minute to 15-minute road. That's basically all I have for that. Not many residents are able to come here because most of our residents are elderly. And I just wanted to come and say that I do oppose turning this already agricultural place into industrial. We have places set aside for that. And like I said, the warehouses are squeezed in between the roads. If you ever take a drive down that road, you will see that you have an apartments across the street from warehouses. You have churches that have been there probably longer than I've been alive. They are forced to accommodate these warehouses, which do not belong in this area. This is a small town, and industrial is just not the way that we should go. I know that we want to grow economically, but we have other ways we can do that. We are resilient people. We do not need to cut down our trees and bring in all these harmful chemicals, which will eventually catch up to those in the town. We don't need to go this route. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for us?
Yes.
Where do you live?
I live out in Clio.
Okay.
I don't want to say too much because I know where.
Well,
it
yeah,
is. Yes.
but so you don't live next to the property or anything?
I don't live directly next to the property, but I have to use that road every day to get out to see family or to go to work. So I travel it every single day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this project? Otherwise, we will close the public hearing. I don't see anybody else, so we will officially close the public hearing for this item and open it up for discussion amongst the board and a motion. Any questions? I mean, I do understand Ms. Matthews' concerns. Old Augusta Road, though, is one of our truck routes, right? So, I mean, and it does align with the future land use map that was our first planning document that we need to consider related to zoning. So while she's definitely got legitimate concerns about a wealth of things, this area is actually an area that has been identified for the use that's proposed.
So based on the light to heavy question that the realtor had asked, I don't see much of an issue either and or on that if it did go heavy personally, being that's the future land use map, and we have warehousing all around it already. That is an industrial corridor right here.
So you don't see an issue with that one use, this heavy industrial being allowed, the warehouse use?
Correct.
I don't want to speak for you, but there's some other heavy industrial uses that probably don't need to be directly
Correct.
adjacent to
I'm
the
sorry.
neighborhood.
Yes, warehouse. If it could fit on the parcel, based on the buffers and whatnot. I don't know if that's another question we need to bring up. If we need to put a condition in as light or not.
I'm not gonna make the motion, but I think we should, since it was posted as light industrial, we should limit it. But I certainly think it's fair to add that other use back in if the applicant wants it, and the rest of the board thinks it's fair to add that one use that's in the heavy industrial back in, that we can make that part of it.
Can I ask a question, Ron?
Mhm.
Can we also make it where no wetlands would be mitigated? Or do we not have?
We don't have permitting authority over wetlands, so I wouldn't be supportive of that condition.
Okay.
But you certainly can make it, right? I mean, that's fine. It's just, I don't.
Yeah.
Typically, there's a process that they've got to go through related to the wetlands, and like,
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. On the light industrials, I know we're using the term light industrial. In the ordinance that Chelsea put up on the screen, just for later point in time, can we use like 5.3.1A or whatever it says? Can we use the number referring to that? You can also say the uses if you want to, but I want to refer to the ordinance so that when we do a ZMA for it, a zoning,
Okay.
we just know what section you referred to, okay? So she could bring it back up
I
again.
am. I'm gonna
so
pull
the
that back up
condition would
for
be to
you.
limit it to the light industrial uses of section blah, blah, blah.
You got it.
Yeah, I don't know that
Yep.
section, but we got it.
It's much,
Please put the blah, blah, blah on the, in the
yeah,
minutes.
but it's all around better if we are that
Right.
specific with it.
Okay.
And for the planning board as well, as far as Old Augusta Road and the improvements that are gonna be on Old Augusta Road, the county's currently, got a contract with Kimberly Horn to improve the freight route that's already identified on Old Augusta Road. And I'll give a quick update to be brief. But at Logistics Parkway, there's a roundabout that's planned there. That'll be phase 1 that's planned to start September 2025 this year, and then we're hoping to be done January 2027. There's also the 4-laning of Old Augusta Road, so 2 lanes either direction, with another roundabout and a modification of a roundabout that's actually under construction right now on Old Augusta Road, and that's planned to start January 2027, complete September of 2028, and then the portion that is north of Logistics Parkway up to Chimney, which is going to be right adjacent to this property. There's drainage improvements that are there. That's going to remain 2-lane, and then there is a roundabout that is planned at Chimney and Holly Lane, and that work will start September 2028 and be complete by December of 2029. So just a quick snapshot of this. I mean, today it's already a freight route network, so it is designed to handle the trucks that are currently on it, but we're planning on improving it even further.
Right, we're investing a good bit to improve
That's
it.
right,
Yeah.
to move forward with this as a designated freight route. So
Any other questions from the from the board or discussion from the board? Otherwise, if not, I'll entertain a motion, but please do.
Can you pull back up the map that shows, what's surrounding it, like that industrial is across the street, but there was also, I believe, residential across the street, and then there's a residential, I think, right to the north of it.
Let me pull that up for you. No, let me pull that up for you. There you go. And let's go zoning.
Yeah, so the pink is all residential.
So this property is zoned R1. This property right here, and I can show this for you. It is owned by the Georgia Department of Transportation.
Okay. My biggest concern is just the upland is right there closest to that cul-de-sac of that neighborhood, and I just really don't like that. And that's just what I'm hung up on. And I know there is industrial across the street and industrial on the other side, but it does have larger buffers. And then there is that residential across the street also, which is on the upland end of that parcel. So that's, I'm kind of hung up on it.
So what's the future land use map show for that residential on the other side?
Turn this up. Let me turn the wetlands off so that's not confusing. So that purple is industrial.
Okay.
And the green
And what's
is
the
the
green?
GDOT piece of property?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, so conservation.
Okay.
It is a conservation, that's what they're using it for, is conservation?
Yeah, so it is owned by GDOT, or Georgia Department of Transportation.
They acquired that property, I believe it was part of the harbor deepening and part of the preservation of certain aspects along a corridor, but they've owned it for quite some time.
Kind of the
That's correct.
mitigation efforts related to it, okay. Does that
That is.
help? I mean, at least there's, even though it's zoned to allow R1, it's not gonna be residential, right? Because there's,
It can't be bought.
right.
Okay.
And then, strangely enough, it jumps back to industrial on the other side. So the future land use map is showing that as industrial. I don't disagree with you about the concern. I mean, again, there are two lots there that could potentially be impacted for sure. At least it's just the cul-de-sac, and it's not a whole long street that's running up against it. And that is why I asked Mr. Zitrauer about the buffer and the fact that just because this is a funky shaped piece of property and they got a lot of wetlands and whatever, that's not going to be hopefully not a future consideration for a variance to reduce the buffer, because there's a substantial buffer that would be required along that north property line. What would it be, assuming the zoning goes through? 150, is that right?
150 with a berm or
Yeah.
300 natural.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a substantial area. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I may give you those numbers for the
Yeah, sure.
ordinance. So for light industrial, that would be 5.12.1.
Okay.
And then for heavy industrial would be 5.12.1A.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion amongst the board? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion. We're gonna let it. Either way, I mean, it,
I make a motion to approve, for, 5.12.1, I uses. With the option to put a small warehouse if it meets, the buffers and the setbacks.
So you'd make a motion to approve, and the condition would be to limit the uses to 5.12.1 plus the addition of the warehouses.
Correct.
From the heavy industrial uses. Does that clarify it enough?
Yeah, small I can't work with, but warehouse I can.
Right, just,
Sorry?
don't limit it by small, if you're okay with
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
just leave
yeah.
the warehousing aspect
Correct.
of it. Okay, we have a motion and, does everybody understand the motion and the condition that was proposed related to that motion? All right, I'll entertain, well, actually, I need a second if
I'll second it.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
All right. It passes 3-2. It is just a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. It's May the 6th, back in the same room. Thank you very much.
The two of us.
Yeah, sorry, it was. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, moving on. We will now jump back. We've gone 2 to 1 to back to 3 now, so we're going to move on to public hearing number 3. Thanks, everybody, for your patience. Julie Jackson requests to rezone 5.38 out of 41.1 acres from AR1 to AR2 to allow for permitted uses in AR2. This is located on 1350 Silver Hill Church Road. That's 3rd District. It's map number 338, parcel 13. Ms. Chelsea.
Yes, sir. The applicant is requesting to rezone the 5.38 acres to AR2. Since the applicant is subdividing that 5.38 acres into 3 lots, the zoning will need to change to AR2. Again, you have those permitted uses by right in AR2 zoning on your staff report. There are currently other AR2 parcels along Silver Hill Church Road and along Clio Shawnee Road. Here is your zoning map, as you can see. The red star does show that property. Silver Hill Church Road is a county-maintained road. The future land use map does project this parcel as agricultural. Staff has reviewed the application, and the application is complete with the following condition. Development Services shall review and sign the plat, and if the plat, then the plat, shall be recorded so the zoning can take effect.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chelsea. Is the applicant here? Yes, please come forward and state your name and sign your name there, or write your name down for us.
Julie Jackson.
Yes, ma'am. Anything to add to the staff report?
Yes, sir. If you look at the map, the larger area, we have kept, we bought that whole parcel and kept the majority of it in Cuba. We did take 6 acres off to subdivide for our children. And that's the purpose of the subdivision, or subdividing.
Okay, so yeah, that helped answer a question I had. So it's 5.38 acres, is that what we're?
The long skinny strip at the very beginning, that will be 2 spots, and then just another 2 acres into the larger right off the skinny spot. And it's for our 3 children.
So do we have a sketch that shows that?
I wish I could. This isn't touchscreen, I can't draw on this.
Be in the packet.
Yeah, I think I see it. Is that the?
Yes, you should have the plan in your packet.
That one, yeah.
Yes, we have the map.
No, I think we got it. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, sir.
And this is the lovely Mr. Jackson.
So this is already recorded?
There was yes, sir. So there has been a mishap. We went and had this, because we're new to subdividing land, so we came here first. It was signed and approved. We had our attorney do everything. We even have an address already for them. Our children already have their loans started, and then we got notification we had to be rezoned. So thankfully, they went ahead and gave us a 911 address, so their loaning, banking information wouldn't have to halt, and then they start all over again. So everything was already approved through the county prior to us getting notified that it had to be rezoned.
Uh,
Which
ye-
is fine, we don't mind at all, but, that was quite a shock to all of us.
Yes, sir, we are, as you can see, we are coming before you, doing this a little backwards. Unfortunately, this is, staff doing things, maybe a little too quickly. And so, that is why this is coming forward. So as you see the plat before you, they would be non-conforming AR1, parcels.
Okay. Is that right? I understand that. Like, we know what they're proposing. It's not a sketch. It's out there. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody else got any additional questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else in favor of the project? Obviously, yeah. You don't have to stand up and speak unless you need to. Okay. Anyone in opposition? All right, seeing that there is no one in opposition, we will close this public hearing and open it up for discussion. Any discussion needed? How about
So even though it's
this side?
non-conforming, we've already got a recorded plat.
This is cleaning that up, basically, right? So it's a
Yes, sir.
non-conforming AR1 that's been recorded and subdivided, right? So this just cleans that up.
Correct.
For the, I'm sorry.
It's okay. We already closed the public hearing, so I think we're good. Any other questions on y'all's end? All right, hearing that there's no other questions or discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
Ms. Smith was a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes for recommendation. Again, do remember that be here for the county commissioners meeting. That's the vote that really matters, so make sure you are here in May, okay? Thank you very much for your time and your patience. All right, moving on. Now we're to public hearing number 4. This is Edward Joven, request to rezone 2.5 acres from AR1 to AR2 to allow for permitted uses in AR2. This is located at 247 Pine Street. This is the first district, map number 302, parcel 47.
Yes, sir. So the applicant again is requesting to rezone that 2.50 acres to AR2. This parcel is a non-conforming AR1 lot, so again, less than 5 acres. The applicant would like to subdivide the 2.50 acres, and the zoning will need to change to AR2. There are currently other AR2 parcels across Pine Street, as you can see here on your zoning map. Pine Street is a county-maintained road. The future land use map does project this parcel as agricultural residential. Staff has reviewed the application, and the application is complete, with the condition that Development Services shall review and sign the plat. This plat has not been recorded yet. Let me put that out there. Then the plat shall be recorded so the zoning can take effect.
So we are zoning the entire parcel, am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, sir.
At 2.5 acres, so it's currently non-conforming.
It is.
And they are proposing one additional lot. They're proposing to subdivide it, or am I misunderstanding?
They are proposing to subdivide it.
And I see on the sketch, it says approximately 0.06 acres. That, or 0.6 acres. Did they know that that doesn't comply with AR2?
So as long as they have, and I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. As long as they have either public water and sewer or one or the other, they can go down to half of an acre for AR2.
And they'll have public water. Is this the one you had the question on?
Yes, sir.
All right, any other questions for the staff? We'll open it up to the public hearing. All right, hearing none, I will open up the public hearing. Is the applicant here to speak on behalf of the project? Yes, sir. Please come forward, state your name, and if you would, please also jot your name down there on that piece of paper for us.
Hey, good evening. I'm Edward Jovan.
Good evening. Thanks for being here. Anything to add to?
Yes, sir. So I do have water utility management has set up an account for us, so we're gonna get a water service run. We don't right this second have one, but they're gonna run one for us. She said it's about 2 weeks out once I go in and fill out my account, which she told me that today. What we're trying to do is, like I said, about 0.6 acres. My brother-in-law wants to buy the house in the 0.6 acres. He'll have the water service, and then the remaining almost 2 acres in the back, we want to put a home for us. And there's already a well on that portion of the land, so we'd have to get private sewer put in with the house. But other than that, that's about it.
Okay. This is a unique one. I don't think I've seen public water to AR2 yet. But it is clear the code as
It
long as
does,
it's public water.
AR2 does say that. And even if for some reason they weren't able to get it, they are 2.5 acres. So it is a non-conforming AR1, so
All
they
right.
can request if for some reason they weren't able to get that public water and sewer, they just would not be able to subdivide, but they can request the zoning.
But it's public water, not public water and sewer, right?
No,
You're
just
doing
public water. According to what I read in the ordinance, you can have one or the other.
Okay.
And the only thing available is water on our street.
Okay, so, I mean, again, this to me is one that, with that being the case, we're rezoning, again, it's non-conforming anyway, right? But there's the remaining 1.9 acres that we know the current thoughts, but that does mean the remaining 1.9 acres will be subject to the same thing. There's gonna be water there, that could mean that you've got 3 more subdivisions at some point. It's non-conforming, so I don't think it's that big of an issue, but just keep that in mind from that standpoint. All right, I don't think there's any other questions. Any other questions of the applicant?
And if I may, per your county engineer, Pine Street was just repaved. So.
Yeah, shameless plug, T-Splosh money.
T-Splosh, good deal.
At work, so it is a
Nice new
very
street
well
deal to be driving
That's
in.
right.
That's what
maintained
good to hear.
road
All
for
right,
the
good deal.
county.
Very good. Thank you for that. That's great.
Just out of curiosity, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I mean, it's time
We'll
to
get
ask.
to comments in that.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else additionally in favor of the project? If you've got something additional to say, you can come forward. If not, we see your hand raised and we appreciate you standing up. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone in the audience in opposition to this request? All right, seeing that there's no one else in the audience to either speak for or against the project, we will close the public hearing and open it up for discussion.
Just out of curiosity, why would we not go to an R zoning versus the AR2, just because that does meet the criteria?
It does in the surrounding zoning district, and R1, I mean, they could, but again, I think, looking at your surrounding zoning, there's no R1 out there. There is commercial, I see that, but, I mean, the request was AR2.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
So this does fit as long as they can get public water. This does fit.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The code allows them to go less than 1 acre if you've got public water. You just have to have a certain acreage to have private well and septic.
Okay.
Okay, this is District 1, it's my district, and I try my best not to make motions as a chair, so I would ask for the rest of the board to consider that as part of this.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request of the 0.6 and the 1.9 to AR2.
Okay, we have
I will second the motion.
all right, awesome, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against, say nay. The motion passes. It's a recommendation for approval. Again, remember, county commissioners are the deciding factor, so show back up here in May. Appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good evening. All right, moving on to public hearing item number 5, Warren Kennedy, request to rezone 3.66 acres from AR1 to AR2 to allow for permitted uses in AR2. It's located on Elm Street. Again, this is the first district. This is map number 302, parcel 136. Ms. Chelsea.
Yes, sir. The applicant is requesting again that 3.66 acres to AR2. The lot is currently non-conforming AR1, so less than 5 acres. There are multiple AR2 zone parcels across Elm Street. There is your zoning map. Let's see. Elm Street and Dogwood Way are county-maintained roads. The future land use map does project this parcel as as agricultural residential. Staff has reviewed the application, and the application is complete with the following conditions: that Development Services shall review and sign the plat, then the plat shall be recorded so the zoning can take effect.
Thank you, ma'am. Is the applicant here? We'll open the public hearing to the applicant. Yes, sir. Please come forward if you would and state your name and write your name down for us there.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Warren Kennedy, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir, Mr. Kennedy. You have anything else to add to the staff report or what Ms. Chelsea relayed to us?
Not really, just having that particular lot subdivided into 3 acres, 1 acre tracts. I just bought it for my kids. I live near that property and they want to be near me.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? I'm very familiar with it. I go by it very often. I live in that area. Any questions? We do have a sketch kind of what's being proposed there for Gleason Land Surveying.
So your intent's for your children to live there?
Yes.
Any other questions of the applicant? All right, thank you, sir. We may have some other questions, but for right now. All right, is anyone else in favor? Looks like the audience is dwindling down, so I'm assuming that's probably not. Is there anyone in opposition to this request in the audience? All right, seeing that there's no opposition, we'll close this public hearing and open it up for discussion or a motion. And again, please remember this is District 1.
It's yours.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I don't have any. It was pretty clean, straightforward.
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, the motion passes for recommendation of approval. Again, sir, please make sure you come to the May County Commissioners meeting for the final decision on that. All right, moving on to our final public hearing of the evening, public hearing number 6. This is Dwayne Reagan. Request to rezone 1.468 acres of AR1 to AR2 to allow for permitted uses in AR2 located at 4363 Clio Kildare Road, Third District, map 309, parcel 6. I should be able to say that by heart by now. That's a lot of same stuff over and over. Ms. Chelsea.
Yes, sir. So the applicant, again, is requesting to rezone the 1.468 acres to AR2. Since the applicant is adding the 0.0467 acres to the 1.001 acre parcel, the entire parcel needs to come into zoning conformity, which is AR2. Does that make sense? Again, you have the list of permitted uses by right for AR2 zoning on your staff report. Clio Kildare Road is a county-maintained road. The future land use map does project this parcel as agricultural. That is your future land use map on the screen there. Staff has reviewed the application, and the application is complete. Again, with that condition that Development Services shall review and sign the plat, then the plat shall be recorded so the zoning can take effect.
So just to clarify, there's the existing non-conforming piece here,
There sure is.
and we're adding a piece.
We're
small
adding a piece to it.
Doesn't get to 5 acres, so we still got to rezone it.
Yes, sir.
Make it conforming. Okay. Or have to consider rezoning. We don't have to, I guess. All right, any questions of staff before we ask for the applicant? All right, is the applicant in the audience? If you would, please, sir, come forward and state your name and tell us a bit about what you're proposing.
I'm Dwayne Reagan. So we have the 22 acres there all around that. And my father-in-law has the house there. And we're just trying to square up where when he bought the house, the original property line ran through the middle of the swimming pool. So they made him come around the pool, and it's literally around the brick of the pool, but not where the fenced-in area was. So we're trying to give him what was already fenced in for his backyard to get that straight, because they didn't do it right when they bought the property. So,
Okay. Thank you, sir. If you would write your name down on that.
Mr. Chairman, I will say, as you're looking at these maps here, and I didn't maybe zoom out far enough, there are multiple non-conforming AR1 lots out there. So bringing this into compliance.
And this is not a question really specific. This is a bigger picture question, just so we know, like, because there has been discussion previous years about being sensitive and cautious about too many AR2 zonings in the far north end reaches of the county. Even though it's agricultural residential, that there's been some concern about just AR2 just starting to spread all over the place, because 1 acre lot potential is not everywhere in north end of the county kind of aligned with that. If it's just because they're adding the piece that triggers this, they can't record, similar to like what we had on the other one, that you can't actually sign off on it because it's a non-conforming lot. Like if an adjacent piece that was non-conforming was just being sold, there's nothing requiring the zoning to be fixed, right? It's just the fact that they're trying to do something with the property, changing the acreages.
Right, yes, sir. So the ordinance, that's a great segue to what we should probably talk about once we finish this item. But you cannot extend or further a non-conforming lot or substandard lot or building. You have to bring it into conformity after a certain amount of time. We have exceeded that time frame. It's 3 years. The ordinance says 3 years after the initial zoning has been put in place. So yes, sir, because the property lines are adjusting, we have to bring it into conformity.
Okay. That clarifies for me. Any other questions of staff or the applicant?
All you're trying to do is get around the fence for the property that you're using as property anyways.
Yeah, my father-in-law's back here.
Yeah,
So he's using it anyway, but my daughter's gonna build a house we're breaking up that whole 3095. So that's what kind of started it, was to give her 5 acres because that's what we need for AR2. But then she would have this funky little line that half of it was in his backyard. So we're just trying to make it all straight.
I understand.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, thank you, sir. I think you're good.
Thank you,
Any, what's that? Anyone else in favor of this application? We have one more in the audience, but it looks like we don't need it. We don't need to hear anything additional. Anyone in opposition to this request? All right, hearing none, that we'll close the public hearing. I will say that I don't think it needs to be part of a condition, but I'd like for somehow to be very clear in the minutes going forward in the future that this is solving a very unique situation, and it's not justification for supporting a future AR2 rezoning request in this general area. Not saying you couldn't do it. I just don't want somebody to look at the map and see an AR2 dot, and it opens up Pandora's box, if you will, across the board.
I agree completely with it. I think there's a lot of these coming up.
442 non-conforming AR1.
Can we do them all tonight?
Dude, we really are. We're trying to figure it out. Otherwise, they're going to be piecemeal, 5,400 at a time.
All right, well.
And they're all over the place. They're not contiguous much.
Keep going.
Ms. Smith says she's going to be here for all of them.
Yep, it's going to be a while.
How many did you say it was again, Steve?
5,442.
Will this make it 5,141? All right, thank you.
I would ask that you complete this item, and then we can maybe further
Sorry about
discuss
that.
that
Yeah,
a
I need
little bit.
to close the, well, we already have closed the public hearing. So, all right, I will entertain a motion unless there's any other discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion for approval. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? All right, motion is approved for recommendation for approval. Again, please make sure you do show for the May Board of Commissioners meeting. Thank you all. Appreciate your time and patience. All right, that's all of our agenda. Do we need to talk about something on the record like before we adjourn? Okay.
Yes, sir. So I just wanted to bring up, that was a great segue into the non-conforming AR1 lots. The next planning board agenda is going to have quite a few of those items. Again, I think we're making headway possibly steering committee-wise addressing that issue. You know, however, you're going to see that, and half of our agenda right now is those types of items. And like Steve said, we have 500 or 5,500 and
That's good.
yeah.
It's
1,141 now.
It is. Yep. You know, ranges, and it's not just the northern part of the county, it's across the board.
Right.
So you're gonna see that.
That's just gonna get addressed through time where it's a year or 30 years, right? I mean, that's the way that's gonna work.
Yeah, so you can initiate a countywide rezoning. But it's time consuming, it's very expensive.
And it doesn't solve the issue of creating even further non-conforming lots.
That's right, yeah.
So,
So the items that are up is because of an action, like a private citizen's needs, right? We're not solving a problem for them. They're coming to us with an
right,
issue.
so you're gonna see, like I said, with this one that just finished, it could be they're, you know, adding property, they're AR1, they're adding property, but they're not going to 5 acres. It could be that they wanna build an accessory structure. It could be that they, you know,
Extend their house.
yeah, they wanna add an
Any
addition.
permit action, you can't do anything.
Right, exactly.
The only exception is if they lose 60% of the value of their property through some natural disaster, they can put it back, but they have to follow the current regulations.
And mobile homes.
Yeah, mobile homes.
And mobile homes being, there's a state law right now that if you have a lot or you have a parcel and you replace your mobile home with a brand new from the manufacturer mobile home, zoning does not count. You can replace it, whether it's non-conforming.
Yeah, FEMA does, wetlands
Yes,
does,
your
but
state and federal laws still count.
not except for building. So it's gotta be a 2025. Yeah, that was passed a year ago, something like that.
So you're just prepping us that these very same questions are gonna pop up a lot next month?
And it's tough at the window too.
Yep.
When they find out.
Right, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So do we know, like, did the lots predate zoning, or did they get created?
I
Like,
think.
do we see where, obviously we can see when the subdivision happened.
So I think a lot of them, when Effingham County adopted zoning initially, and we did kind of like that blanket AR1,
Yes, everything.
that's kind of what started. And now folks are, you know, hey, I want to fix my lot lines, or, you know, I want to build an accessory structure on my non-conforming AR1, or, you know, I want a pool.
We had that happen with family way back when we had a family pond and had 13 siblings.
Yeah.
And it got split up. It wouldn't pass any of these.
Right, sure.
But that's the reason it happened. That's the reason it became so odd with the lot size. They're real skinny just to get to the water. It's just to give you rights to always fish in it. You're never gonna build on it unless you buy someone else's.
Yeah, well, I guess that's helpful to get the clarification. I do think either being very specific for each one of them or something, I just am a little concerned with, like, as these starts populating the north end of the county, I don't want it to be something that somebody comes in future, like argues that, well, I should have the right to it because y'all did this over here. Because in general, the idea is to keep the lot sizes larger in the north end of the
But I
county.
do agree, like,
Could
there
you-
should be, it should be noted, this parcel was non-conforming, this is the reason it is AR2.
And staff's doing that in the
Right.
report, right, but it's just, sometimes you can lose that part of it when somebody starts
Could
making
you
that
rezone
discussion.
it with some type of deed restriction added to it?
Can we add deed restrictions?
So again, something we're, as staff, we're working on trying to find a solution, you know, working with the county attorney as well, asking questions. I know the steering committee, you know, we're working with, you know, hopefully bringing forth, you know, maybe that AR3, looking at what that may be, taking that forward to the board. So we'll see what they think of that as well, so.
Well, I think my concern is less, because you couldn't restrict somebody else's property, right? I'm not concerned really about the piece of property we were taking the action on. It's the, now there's AR2 here, the neighbor says, well, they just got AR2, I wanna do a 1 acre subdivision.
You open
I
a
wanna do a 1
box.
acre subdivision. I want us to be clear that this is not opening up that everybody gets to propose 1 acre subdivisions all around this one we just approved. That's all I was trying to get to on that. So I don't think the deed restriction on this piece would satisfy that, right?
You know, you bring up a good point. So, it just hit me, thank you.
Steve, can you talk into the mic? Thank you.
So, thank you for a good point. I think what we ought to do is hatch them on the map or something like that when we rezone them. So they're identifiable not only today, but 5 years from now. So if we hatch them on the zoning map,
Yeah.
we'll know, or you'll know right then that that was a non-conforming use. So that's a good idea. I think that just,
I think that's critical because nobody's gonna have this packet 5 years from
Nope.
now to know that we
no,
talked about
and they're
this.
not gonna have her minutes, they're not gonna have that, but they're gonna look at that map and say what happened there, and if we hatch it,
Yeah, it'll be
or
clear.
whatever stars, I don't care what you use, but something to signify,
I think that'd be great.
yeah. Yeah, only when it's rezoned, not beforehand,
Right, no, I mean,
only if they never come and go through it, they're non-conforming. But if they do, I really just love that idea. Sorry.
That'd be good, because we're not gonna be here. You
That's
might
right.
not be here.
Yeah, exactly.
This
I
board
know I
won't
ain't
be
gonna
the
be
same
here.
when this comes up
If we
again.
do 100 of them, we're not gonna remember them all.
Not gonna remember anything.
No, you're not gonna remember. But that's something visual, so we know when we look at that map, that's one of them.
right.
Because if I was wanting to approve something and I can't, I said, well, Joe Smith, 2 doors down, has 0.6 acres, why can't I?
Yeah.
Well, we did, this is because. It was a special thing.
Yeah, I mean, some
So
of the
definitely something to
crosshatch
think about.
Across it, I think would be easy to see, like not a different color, just a crosshatch.
Yeah.
Okay, well that.
Yeah,
any-
something to think about. So as you see next month's agenda come out for you guys, you
Okay.
know, you'll see those.
Are we through the zonings that were before the moratorium that are not AR1, AR2? So is everything in,
So, the one that was recommended for approval tonight was the very last one.
okay, so y'all understand that, right? For the, until the moratoriums that would likely only see AR1 and AR2 for a
For,
bit.
yes, for you guys, yes. The Ron Station Road was, postponed to August 5th?
11th, 5th?
5th, August of 2025, but that's at the Board of Commissioners level.
Long time ago.
So it did not get withdrawn, it's still
It is
postponed,
still
but for an
postponed.
extended period of time.
Yes,
But it won't come back to this board
It
because
will
it's
not
already gone
come-
through? Okay, unless
Unless you want.
unless it is denied or
denied,
withdrawn.
withdrawn, and then
Yes,
it'll
sir.
come back through. Okay. Okay.
Because it's already been voted on here by the previous board,
That's right,
correct?
yeah, it was last fall. Okay,
Yes,
I
sir.
think that's good. Just, I did follow up on the email string. I thought we all said we didn't have any conflicts. I do have a conflict for June's board meeting, so we'll either need to have somebody else serve this spot or find a different date for it. I'm out that entire week.
We do, so the vice chair will.
I'm just making sure
hold
that, like, we're good with that.
And I'm not gonna be here in April. May. April. Well, I'm tired. I did what you did a few weeks ago. I was in Atlanta at 12 o'clock
Oh,
today.
no, yeah, that's a lot. All right, we're good then, that's all the items.
sir,
We'll-
that was
we'll
it.
put-
Just
all
wanted
right,
to give you.
anything else from anyone? Otherwise, we are going to adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.
All right.
Here we go. July or August, which one would be better? Because we're trying to get zoning 101 and 102 here to come.
Oh, so I can free up my May
Yes.
15th.